The Indian cricket team captain Mr. Virat Kohli is in the form of his life. Not only is one of the world's most finest athletes, but he is also a well-read and a spiritual person. His transformation from this angry, energetic youth to this fine captain and leader is something which is very motivating. A few years back, Virat Kohli's coach Mr. Rajkumar Sharma had also talked about this transformation. He had said that Virat has transformed from a talented player to a great player. Now, I am not really a fan of cricket and I don't really follow cricket much, but this transformation really intrigued me to find out what really happened and what made this happen. A few years back, Virat Kohli had shared a photo on Instagram with his favorite book, and he said that this book was a life-changing book for him and it basically was an eye-opener. The post read, "I love this book, a must-read for all those who are brave enough to let their thoughts and ideologies be challenged. The understanding and implementation of the knowledge in this book will change your whole perspective and life. Believe in the divine and keep marching on doing good deeds." Hey guys, welcome to this new video. In this video, we're going to talk about this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda. This book is a life-changing book for many people around the world. What makes this book so influential and so popular? We're going to understand that. I'm going to tell you key points from this book, key important stories from this book. This video is going to be full of information, so make sure you watch the video till the end. You may never know which thought or fact may resonate with you and change the course of your life. So let's get started.
Before that, I read Autobiography of a Yogi, which was an eye-opener in many ways. So yeah, those two have to be the recent favorite books.
Now, before we deep dive into the intricacies of this book, let me tell you 3 important points because of which this book has had a connect with the audience, because of which this book is a blockbuster book. The first point is, this book tells a story. This book is a story of Mukunda, who later grows to be a yogi named Paramhansa Yogananda. It is a story of Mukunda's experiences with spirituality, his experiences with the divine. Every chapter is an experience of this person. The second point is, this book talks about spirituality. Now, there is a latent difference between religion and spirituality. Religion we all know, but spirituality is something which is related to knowing yourself, which caters to the fact that you are responsible for the universe and not the other way around. The third point, which I feel is the most important point because of which this book is a very popular book and influential book, is that it challenges our belief system. Now, I personally feel books are the most important ways to crystallize your belief systems, and this book actually manages to do that. This book shatters your perception of reality. This book has a lot of mystical elements, a lot of magical characters, and a lot of yogis who have supernatural powers. Now, it's up to us whether we have to believe it or not. But the language in which this book is written, you feel as if it's all the truth. I recently finished reading this book, and it took me around a month to complete this book. Because let's face it, this book is a heavy book. It has a lot of complex words to understand. It's not that you won't understand anything. You can easily figure out the meaning of the words by understanding the context around it. But after reading every chapter, you feel you should take a pause and try to understand what that chapter meant. So that way, this book takes a lot of time to read. So let's deep dive into the book. Now, before starting, I'd like to tell you that other than explaining what the book is about, I'll tell you 3 stories from the book which I personally felt would challenge your belief systems a lot, and so by knowing these stories, you'd get a taste of what this book is actually all about. Like the title suggests, this book is an autobiography of a yogi named Paramhansa Yogananda. This book is basically a life story of Mukunda, the central character, and his experiences with the divine. Each chapter in this book is an experience. Mukunda has met a lot of great yogis. He has experienced a lot of spiritual awakenings throughout this book. So it's basically a journey. It's like a journey which you are taking. Mukunda is holding your hand and taking you through all of his experiences. Paramhansa Yogananda is coined for taking the idea of spirituality and yoga to the West. He was an educated yogi, and he had a massive influence in the United States as well. The first story is a story of Mukunda with his guru Sri Yukteswar. Sri Yukteswar has taught Mukunda the art of meditation. He has taught him many life lessons. One day in their ashram, they both decide to go on a beach for an errand, just for a small trek or something. So they go to the beach, and before going to the beach, Sri Yukteswar gives Mukunda 6 cauliflowers and tells him to place them in his room. Mukunda does that, and then they go to the beach. On the beach, Sri Yukteswar asks Mukunda, "Did you forget to lock the back door of the room in which the cauliflowers were placed?" Mukunda is confused and he says, "No, I didn't lock the room, it's open." Sri Yukteswar tells him, "When we go back, we will only find 5 cauliflowers there. 1 cauliflower would be missing because a beggar or a peasant nearby will come inside and take the cauliflower and go." Mukunda is perplexed. They go back and they find only 5 cauliflowers, and beside that, there's a lot of treasure and all the jewelry of Mukunda which is untouched. The beggar or the peasant has not touched all those precious metals, but he has managed to take only one cauliflower. Now Mukunda is perplexed and he asks Sri Yukteswar, to which Sri Yukteswar replies, it's all about vibrations. Sri Yukteswar had managed to tap into the vibrations around that beggar to transfer his consciousness around that beggar. He tells Mukunda that the reality in which you live is different than the reality in which I live. There are also mentions of radio frequencies and how tapping into the exact frequencies you can get a specific tune. In the same way, by tapping into the vibrations of the universe, you can transfer your consciousness to some other reality. This chapter explains that. Now let's proceed to the second story. This is a story of Sri Yukteswar with his guru, Sri Lahiri Mahasaya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So we go back in time when Sri Yukteswar is under the patronage of Sri Lahiri Mahasaya. Sri Yukteswar has a good friend named Rama. Sri Yukteswar and Rama are very, very good friends. They both understand each other really well and they have a good companionship. One day, Sri Yukteswar comes to know that Rama is very ill. He would be dead in a few hours, the doctors say that. He comes to Lahiri Mahasaya and tells him, what should I do? He's going to die in a few hours. What should I do? I'm really distraught right now. Lahiri Mahasaya tells him, nothing will happen to Rama. Don't worry. But then it turns out Rama is actually dead and Sri Yukteswar gets really distraught and he cries for an indefinite period of time. After a few days, after Rama is dead, Sri Yukteswar comes back again to Lahiri Mahasaya and tells him, why did you tell me that he is going to live? Why did you give me a false hope? And it's all down the hill now. He's no more, Rama is no more, and I don't know what to do. Lahiri Mahasaya tells him, come down, sit with me and meditate. To which Sri Yukteswar says, I can't really meditate now. My mind is so shattered and my mind is so agitated now. It's really difficult for me to meditate now. So then Lahiri Mahasaya spots a small bowl of castor oil near him. He gives that castor oil to Sri Yukteswar, tells him that give 7 drops of this castor oil to Rama's body and he will wake up. Sri Yukteswar is perplexed. How is this possible? He's been dead for 1.5 days. How can he wake up? To which he says, you just do what I'm telling you. You'll see the results. So Sri Yukteswar goes there to Rama's body and he puts 7 drops of oil on his lips. As soon as the 7th drop touches his lips, Rama wakes up with a sudden blazing of amusement and divinity. He tells that he had a flash of Lahiri Mahasaya in front of him. Now Sri Yukteswar is perplexed. He wants to know what really happened. Sri Yukteswar comes back to Lahiri Mahasaya and asks him, what was in the castor oil? Why was that castor oil so magical and powerful that it brought the dead back? To which Lahiri Mahasaya says, there was nothing in the castor oil. The castor oil meant nothing. It was just a materialistic thing which I used to make you believe that nothing will happen to Rama. The first time I told you nothing will happen to Rama, you never believed me, and that is why it all went downhill. If you would have believed me, nothing would have happened. There are some vibrations, there are some divine spiritual energy through which you can do whatever you want. This was an important lesson for Sri Yukteswara, who later became one of the biggest yogis, one of the most powerful yogis of his time. Now let's start with the third story, which is basically chapter number 43 in the book, and I personally felt that this chapter is the most important chapter of this entire book if you want to get a taste of what reality is. It was always prophesied from the beginning of this book that Paramhansa Yogananda will carry all this information about spirituality to the West, to the United States. When he is in the US, he comes to know that his guru Sri Yukteswar is no more. He comes back to India to his guru and he finds out, after a series of experiences, there are a lot of details here which I am avoiding, and he finds out that Sri Yukteswar is back again from the... Now this is a final lesson for Paramhansa Yogananda to understand what reality is, and Sri Yukteswar has explained all of this through this chapter. After coming back to life, he explains to Yogananda about our body. He says that our body has basically 3 parts. The first part is the physical gross body, the second part is the astral body, and the third body is the thought form. In the first form, the physical form, our body is just a flesh. Our body is just a 3D representation of flesh, and the thought which our body has is very limited. The things that we know about the universe, the things that we know about our surrounding are very, very limited. In the next form, which is the 3D form plus the 4th dimensional form. Now what is the 4th dimension? The 4th dimension is something in which our astral body can travel. While we are sleeping, our astral form has power to tap into this level of consciousness, and if you have that power, of meditation, you can actually discover what your astral form, what your astral surrounding is. Sri Yukteswar was so powerful that he was able to transform his body into astral form anytime he wanted. He could have astral fruits, he could go into the astral gardens, astral surroundings and stuff like that. The third form is a form very few people have managed to get to that form. To get there, you need a very high level of consciousness. You need a very high level of divinity. Even if you're dead, your thoughts are never dead. you can still manipulate your thoughts and bring yourself back to life. Now all this sounds very out of this world and doesn't make sense to us because we are really 3D forms of life. I don't know how true it is, but it is up to us. What I personally take from this book is that there is a higher consciousness and there is a purpose to your life. You just need to tap into that potential. You just need to find what that purpose is. To find that purpose, you need to work. You need to know what you're working. You need to make that surrounding. You need to make your mind that powerful to know what energies you need to trap into. When you do work which you actually like, you feel that energy inside you. You feel like doing that work. I remember one interview of Sushant Singh Rajput in which he was asked how did he manage to play the character of Dhoni by practicing so much. He had practiced a lot. To which Sushant Singh replied, he never thought that it was mehnat for him. He never thought that he was actually putting efforts into that because he was actually liking what he was doing. When that happens, all that energy, all that extra energy which comes into us, it is said that yogis can manipulate this energy. They can transfer this energy in whichever form they want to. So this is what is the main crux of the book. So that's all for this video, guys. I know this was a heavy topic to cover and there are a lot of things which we don't really understand it yet. After I grow up, when I read this book again, I would be able to know more because I would be more experienced by then. So do read this book and let me know how do you like it.